We're kind of dealing, unfortunately, with a society that went from a play-based education to a phone-based education. And we went from having the opportunity to like play and learn and experience life, but now you don't see that. You see everyone's on their phone all the time. There is a comic book right now that is addressing the overuse of cell phones, the overuse of social media. It is promoting a healthy, fun martial art, but it is doing it through a superhero that is relatable.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of A Black Belt Way of Life. I am your host, Master Joseph Lupo Jr. And tonight's guest, I am very, very happy to be in the company, in the presence of Grandmaster Michael Yuhasz. Sir, welcome to Black Belt Way of Life. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm super excited for this.
Nah, it's going to be a lot of fun, You see these amazing books up on my desk. It's going to be a big topic of tonight. Grandmaster Yuhasz is the owner of Adirondack Taekwondo. Where in New York, sir?
We're actually southern Saratoga County. We kind of border Clifton Park and Saratoga Springs.
It sounds nice. It sounds a lot nicer than the 5 boroughs, but this podcast is not about that. Let's leave politics out of this. Let's have some fun tonight. So you own a Taekwondo dojang. And you are, and this is a big part of our episode tonight, you are the creator of and the writer of Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures comic book series. I can't wait to dive into that. We were all little kids, we love Spider. I mean, I have pictures of myself as a little boy, and I carried a Spider-Man toy around with me everywhere. My communion pictures, I had Spider-Man in my hand, and we all come from that comic book generation, but you managed to, and I can't wait to dive into it. You managed to marry two loves, Taekwondo and comic books, and that's phenomenal, sir. That must be an amazing feeling. I don't want to get into it right away off the jump, because we have a lot to get into, but that must be an amazing feeling.
Sir, the other day, we actually, I'm just going to say it, like we sold out of the first print run, and I was like,
I love hearing that.
Oh my goodness. And so it started,
Just so the audience knows, I got mine. I'm just letting you know, I got mine, and I got them signed too. Oof.
Yeah. Sir, like if you were to tell my young childhood that it was watching, like X-Men cartoons when I was younger, and then going to, asking my mom to drive me to like the local comic shop in Schenectady, and just being in a comic book shop, and you kind of have that smell of those old books when you're like going through the comic shop, and then like the newest like Batman is out, or for me it was Ninja Turtles, and so that. If you were to say that, hey, you're going to be a grandmaster in Taekwondo, teach thousands and thousands of families, these benefits that we share, but then inside a comic book, be able to write and create an entire universe that's obviously always expanding, but having the opportunity to share this, the same values that, a superhero sees in the comic, but then make it relatable to today. I'm beside myself.
Oh, that's wonderful, and I can't wait to really, really, get into that. But first, a word from our sponsor, Mr. Joseph Ferrone of Wavered Realty. This episode of A Black Belt Way of Life is brought to you by Mr. Joseph Ferrone of Wavered Realty. For all your real estate needs, both commercial and residential, don't hesitate to reach out to Mr. Joseph Ferrone. All his information is in the show notes. To our official apparel company, Best Martial Arts, Muto USA. For all your martial arts needs, check out their info in the show notes. For Kick Fit Taekwondo shoes, Little promo code BBWOL at checkout. Get a nice little discount on an awesome pair of Taekwondo shoes. Grandmaster Michael Yuhasz.
Sir.
Let's let's jump right into this. You know, you are a, if I'm correct, seventh Dan black belt, Kukkiwon, correct?
Yes, sir. 7th Dan Kukkiwon and 8th Dan Mudokwan.
That's that right there was spitting out those numbers in itself. You know, that tells our audience that's a great deal of dedication, a great deal of hard work, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in those numbers. You know, those numbers don't come easy.
No, no, sir. And prior to being a Taekwondo instructor, I graduated with my degree in elementary education. So it's
Oof.
like
My
the
wife is a school teacher.
full
No,
gambit.
don't vent. I hear enough venting 365, sir. Please don't.
I got nothing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh man.
Well, that's probably why I'm a Taekwondo school owner now, sir, and a comic
Right,
creator,
right,
right? Yeah, yep,
right.
yep.
You know, instead of teaching the reading and writing and math, you know, we teach the kicking and punching. It's a great thing. But let's bring it back. I
Sure.
love doing this with all my guests. You know, here at a Black Belt Way of Life, it's all about the journey and it's all about inspiring others. Where did your journey begin? What inspired you to do martial arts? Was it comic books?
It was, you know what, sir? It was actually the Ninja Turtles. It
Wow.
really was. I was when I was younger, I worked in a restaurant industry, and I was like, washing dishes and all these kind of things. And
Okay.
my first paycheck, I told my mom I wanted to go to the comic book store, and she's like, so she drove me there, and there were three original Ninja Turtle comics there, black and
Oh
white.
wow.
And at the time, they were $25 each, and I took the entire $75 paycheck, and I bought all
Oof.
three of those Ninja Turtle comics. I came back out of the store.
Wow.
My mom's like, "You spent $75 on three comic books?" I still
Hmm.
own those comic books today, sir. And
Wow.
yeah, let me tell you, that's a good return on investment. But I started this journey, through the Ninja Turtles.
Hmm.
I think a lot of martial artists probably relate to that. But back in the day, the Ninja Turtles weren't like these fun-loving, pizza eating,
Right.
colorful.
So what year we're talking? Because what you're describing right now, like you said, the pizza eating, you know, Ninja Turtles, that was more like the late 80s. You're talking a little bit earlier than that.
84, and
84, there you
yeah,
go.
and if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
if you can see behind my shoulder, sir, that is
I
actually
see that. I see that art behind you.
an original page of the Ninja Turtles.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, that is so. I've been collecting this, Ninja Turtle comics for a really long time, but I fell in love with it, and
Hmm.
in the first issue, they actually killed the Shredder, and I was
Okay.
like, "This is hardcore," and
Right, right,
next thing you know,
right.
I was like, "I wanna do martial arts," and obviously they don't have ninja schools around, but they had taekwondo
Hmm.
schools,
Hmm.
and so, here I am, I'm like this young kid that's, like, sitting in the hallway of the dojang drawing the Ninja Turtles before class is
Oh
starting,
wow.
and then boom, you go into class, and I just fell in love with it, but yeah, that's how it started, just Ninja Turtles and Daredevil.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a nice little mix right there.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
the history, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, when they were doing the Ninja Turtles, they're believe it or not, in the first issue, when that ooze goes down into the, sewer,
Hmm.
that's the same ooze that actually caused Daredevil to go blind. Yes, there's,
Oh.
like, a little bit of, history right in there, little comic
Oh
history.
wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
We're gonna learn some good stuff tonight. No, I have to ask, you know, who was your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Well, it depends on how your mood is, right? Like if obviously
Oh,
as
there
a
you go. That's
you
a
know,
good one. I like that.
as a taekwondo instructor, you want to be the leader, but there's days where you're angry. So Raphael would be like coming out there and just be a little
Mhm.
bit upset. So back in the day, all their bandanas were actually red. Well, it's a black and white book, so they're all
Sure.
you had to know them through their weapons, but their personalities were
Mhm.
all the same. So I like to be the leader, but if I'm angry, I'm Raphael. I'm not really too goofy, like Michelangelo, and then
So Michelangelo's not cutting it now.
nah, not that much, and Donatello with the high tech stuff, I guess I'll leave that to my son.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, how about you?
I love Leonardo.
Okay. You got to.
That was always my favorite, you
Yep,
know?
yeah,
I
as a
want
l
to I wanted to s I wanted to swing some swords.
and be a leader as well, yeah, right?
Of course, of course.
You know, in the cartoon back in the day, they actually had a contract where the, Ninja Turtles weren't allowed to use the weapons on anyone. So that's why, like,
Really?
yeah, the friendly cartoons, it was always hand to hand. The
Mhm.
weapons never really got really involved.
That I never thought of it, and that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
So
remember anyone getting hit with a weapon, not
never.
on the show,
They
at
were
least,
they were
no.
kicked and pushed and punched, but they were never attacked with a weapon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they didn't want it to be that violent. They didn't want little kids to see that.
that's good. That is true.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh,
So
man. So the main inspiration was the Ninja Turtles, and, Daredevil, that's a blind superhero, man, that's awesome.
yeah,
I
that's
love that.
back in the day, I mean, there comes a time where, like, you decide, like, everybody reaches a certain level of maturity, right? Where comic books aren't that
Mhm.
cool anymore, and then, life moves on, and you decide that you're going to, you know, college and girlfriends and different things. But
Sure, sure.
for me, like, in the back of my mind, like, I always was that guy that was like, regardless of what was going on, I still made it to the comic shop like once a month to just pick up the current issue. And it's kind of been that way
Oh,
all
wow.
along. Yeah, it's kind of been that way all along.
Wow, so that collection must be really nice. It sounds like a nice retirement because, man, I know the prices of those books, man, and, I got some books in my collection that I'm like, "Man, why did I open this up?"
Oh, sir, like, certain books are definitely in like safety deposit boxes and things like that. But it can.
Really? You got it like that, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, I don't want. Anyway, yes, my collection is deep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I get you. I get you.
yeah, yeah.
We don't want everyone to know. But but
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. And now, so now you have this initial inspiration to do martial arts. Talk to us about your Taekwondo journey.
Yeah, so initially when I started Taekwondo, so obviously the Ninja Turtles were the inspiration, but also,
Hmm.
my mom realized that I was one of those kids that were completely unfocused and undisciplined. And
Okay.
there was a couple options. It was either like, find your focus or go to Parsons Boys Home in Albany, New York. And
Oh, wow.
you need to do something with your life kind of thing.
Okay.
Didn't necessarily want to go to college initially. So I started my Taekwondo training when I was 15 years old, a little bit older than
Okay.
a few others. I grew up in very humble means, so I had to pay for the lessons
Hmm.
myself. So that's why I was kind of working in a kitchen and washing dishes and doing those things as a young teenager. And then
Hmm.
at yellow belt, you were allowed to spar back then. And so I realized that holy cow, like we can start kicking and punching and like really,
Hmm. Hmm.
training. And I was never a like a gold medalist competitor. I was always a competitor. Like after I achieved my black belt, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and going, if I can do this, then I can go to college. But I also decided at that time that I was going to, get in my car and go to the US Open. And I was
Oh,
going to
wow.
in 1995, I went to the US Open,
Okay.
competed in sparring in Pumse. I lost in both. I lost to a Japanese national team member
Hmm.
in sparring, and I went home and I said, I'm going to go to college now. And, went to college, still did Taekwondo. And while I was training Taekwondo, I decided that I was going to, you know, still train, but not compete after
Okay.
after second dawn. And
Hmm.
from there, I literally was like, college is going to be my focus, but I really miss Taekwondo. So then I started working for the dojang Adirondack Taekwondo.
Okay.
And then I ended up acquiring it, believe it or not. But it's kind of funny
Wow.
because when it was time to acquire the dojang, my wife was pregnant. We just bought our first house, and I just got a full-time job as a fourth grade teacher up north. And then
Wow.
I came home, and my wife was like, well, she was like, "Okay, you wanna do this taekwondo thing. I trust you. Let's do it." And 25 years later, here we are, 2 beautiful children, beautiful wife, family, dojang, serving our
Hmm.
community, teaching this children, just like you, sir, you know, the benefits that like Taekwondo is an extrinsic martial art, but it offers so many internal benefits that,
Sure.
many thousands and thousands of students over the years, and quite honestly, that's been my Taekwondo journey. I think that the teacher inside of me and wanting to share the character traits that Taekwondo has to offer,
Mhm.
I did have the opportunity to produce some students that did compete, states, regionals, and then they went to nationals, and then from nationals, other coaches kind of took them on, just a few students, and then that was kind of like the competitive side. But I really do believe in my heart of hearts that Taekwondo, we end up having C and B rated athletes come to us, and then we turn them into A athletes, or they help find their
Mhm.
niche. And so that's kind of what I really feel like, like my Taekwondo journey has been. I feel that being an educator in the Taekwondo world and helping children and adults see their potential through Taekwondo is really kind of where my focus is now. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I mean, listen, I obviously, we're in the same industry in that regard. I remember when I first opened a dojo many years ago. People used to come in and they wanted their child to be the next champion. They wanted their child. Now, all these 15 years later, the parent comes in, they just want a good kid. And that's what's better than that.
Mm.
We wanna produce, fine young men and women, and we wanna make them productive in society and make them productive in the world. And if we could do it with what we love, which is the martial arts, which is taekwondo, great. That's our platform, and it's a responsibility that that we take on. It's again, I know it's cliche, you hear it all the time, but when you love what you do, it's the truth. We want to buid champions of life, and
Eh,
that's what it's about.
100%, sir. I mean,
Hmm.
you and I both are very lucky to do what we do for a living. And then, you
Very.
know,
I, I say it all the time.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's it. I mean, for me now to have the opportunity to to self-publish my own book, to actually get an agent, to make sure that
Oh,
these are the things that are happening right now, and
yeah.
that inside the book it has some some great character traits from as well, but it's it's a comic.
You're jumping at you're
Oh, I'm sorry,
jumping
sir. Yeah,
ahead
yeah,
on me,
yeah, yeah,
sir.
sorry,
You're
sir. Yeah, sorry about
jumping
this, sir.
ahead.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
jumping ahead. So
uh,
now, so now let's take it back, because I see
sure.
your excitement. I see your passion.
Yeah.
I can't wait to jump into it. When did you decide? You mean you mentioned that you were drawing. So have you always been very art oriented? Because I personally can't draw a straight line with the ruler.
uh, so I'm not drawing straight edge right now.
Okay.
Doug Hills is the artist for straight edge. I actually can draw very well. But in order for me to draw one of the pages, like I will rough out straight edge, and then Doug will
Okay.
actually really solidify that. But the problem is that in order for me to draw, if I were to draw one of these pages that are in this book right now, it would take me a month. It like
Oh wow.
I can draw, but, it's funny, like, if I look at something, I can draw it almost exactly. So,
Wow.
I have the ability, to really to lock in, and that's kinda where, like, I can focus. Years ago, I read a lot of books, drawing from the right side of your brain or drawing from the left side of the brain, whatever that may be.
Hmm.
I did a lot of, like, research on how your mind works in order to actually draw. Jim Lee basically told you, like, you don't need to go to college to do this. Like, if you draw every single day, it's like doing push-ups, it's like training, whatever it may be. You'll
Right.
eventually
Right. Right.
you'll be able to draw. And so during COVID, believe it or not, I decided that I was going to draw every day for 2 hours a day. And
All right.
and so I just kind of locked it down, and I was drawing then. But I can't draw straight edge the way Doug Hills does. Doug is amazing. So yeah, I guess that helps answer the question as far as like about that.
Tell us about the inception. When did you decide, you know what? I'm going to make a comic book. When did that
Oh,
happen?
okay. So this is a great story. I'm so glad you asked, actually. So
Yeah.
my son and I had a tradition. Every Saturday morning, I would take him to art lessons. And
Okay.
while he was at art lessons, I would go to the dojo and clean the school, but then I would come back and see what he was drawing. From there, from the art lessons, we would go to the comic book shop, and we would get Spider-Man, Batman, whatever like the newest arc was. And then we would go to a
Hmm.
local restaurant. And my son back then was 7, 8 years old. And
Okay.
rather than at the restaurant, like, break out the phone or whatever it may be, I actually would I would, like, flat out open up the comic book, and we would sit there side by side, and we would read the books together. Now back
That's
then
nice.
oh, man, there'd be people in the restaurant, like, looking at us, and I remember thinking to
Mhm.
myself, these are, like, some really warm memories because my kid, he went to art lessons for 5 years, and so
Okay.
this was a 5-year journey that we're doing this. So one Saturday morning, we get a Spider-Man comic book, and in the Spider-Man comic book, without, boring the audience, it got violent. And
Okay.
when I mean it got violent, it got to the point where I was like, "You know what? My 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid, he should not be looking at what's gonna happen right here."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I closed the book, and he looked at me, and he goes, "That's bad, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, that's bad." He goes, "You
Mhm.
should do your own comic book, Dad."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "You know what? We should." And I said, What do you think the comic book should do?" And at the time, he goes, "I don't know, Dad." He goes, "But you should just do your own comic book." And so we ate, up in where we live, there's a restaurant called Hattie's. And Hattie's
Okay.
is like the best fried chicken sandwiches around. As a matter of fact, the owners beat Bobby Flay for the best fried chicken sandwiches.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, wow,
yeah,
nice
yeah,
plug.
yeah,
Nice
yeah,
plug
yeah.
to Hattie's.
So, so, so we're eating there, and then while we're leaving, he's like, "Oh, Dad, and if you do your own comic book, you got to make sure that there's like two bad guys, and like, maybe they should be wizards. You should be bad guys." And so I was like, "Yeah,
Wow.
okay." So then what I did is I said, "I'll make this comic for you." And so back then, this is like I'm getting my feet wet. This is grassroots. I know nothing about this. And so I wrote a comic, and then I reached out to this artist named Graham Partridge David from Canada.
Okay.
And Graham had a very good, and still does to this day, has a very good art style for children. And at the time, with my son being 8 years old, I was like, you know what? This is gonna be perfect. And so what I did is I created Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures. Now, I don't know if people like my age, like Straight
Where
Edge.
did that name where did that name come from?
Yeah, so Straight Edge back in the day,
Yeah.
believe it or not, there was a punk band, and that punk
Okay.
band coined the phrase straight edge. And this is like from the early 80s. And straight
Oh, wow.
edge was drug-free, alcohol-free,
Okay.
abstaining from like being like, one
Yeah.
partner rather than many partners.
I get it,
And they
like the phrase on the straight and narrow. I get
yeah,
it, I get it.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Straight edge, you're
Yeah.
straight edge, all right.
So they actually, and I wish I could remember the name of the band off the top of my head. But what they did is they coined the term straight edge. And then all of a sudden this took off. This took off, and people decided that they would be calling themselves straight edge, which was like drug free and alcohol free. And I thought to
Okay.
myself, like, you know what? I subscribe to that. I subscribe to being, you know, like as a martial artist, but also drug and alcohol free. And I thought, what a cool name for a
Mhm.
superhero, because not only that, like everything is trademarked these days, everything is copywritten. And so, you have to like really research this stuff. And back then, we're talking like 2014, now 2015. I was like, you know what? Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures. And if you remember back in the day, one of the most earnest cartoons you could watch on TV was Batman and the animated series. And
Okay.
and I was like, "You know what? How about Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures?" Because here's the thing, like, if I'm gonna promote a martial art, not just Taekwondo, but the quality of martial art in general,
Mhm.
everyone, even to this day, when you tell somebody that you're a black belt, they think you can fly and demonstrate fantastic techniques with ease, but
Oh, of course. Yes, yes.
and they don't know the commitment that's involved with that. But the moment you tell somebody you're a black belt, they're either going to say two things: Can you do can you do a backflip, or can and you're just kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people know what a black
Show
belt
me your
is.
moves.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And and so the title, it kind of came about like, listen, I want the carrot to be a drug-free and alcohol-free character that people can look at and go, "You know what? I do want my children to read about this a little bit." Once they know that it's gonna promote a
Mhm.
healthy lifestyle. So, straight edge black belt adventures. Then I thought, black belt adventure. Like, how many of us I don't know about you, sir, but I drove to many taekwondo tournaments, and there were times where,
Oh, yeah.
like, I had, like, a flat tire getting to a championship, or there was some kind of adventure that was happening when I was
Always. Oh,
there, right?
always.
Always, right? Right? And
That's a podcast in itself.
oh, boy. I s and so the title took off, and I ended up,
Wow.
Graham did a fantastic run. The problem with the run for me is I didn't have the focus and the vision back then, because what I wanted to do, unfortunately, was put a check mark in it and show my young son that when you say you're gonna do something, you do it. And
Okay.
that commitment to finishing straight edge back then was like a very fun, comic. I actually even did a Christmas special for him where, there was, like, Santa Claus and different things that were going through it. But
Mhm.
Graham's art, again, wonderful for children, and it was great, but then all of a sudden, my
So
son's
so so this was started initially not for the public, but for your son.
100%, sir. 100%.
Okay. Okay. I'm following.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it was more for, like, if you say you're gonna do something, then we're gonna
Mhm.
do it. And then so,
Right.
I mean, I actually have the copies of the initial books, and I mean, this is I don't know if you can see this, but this is what it
Oh,
was.
you got it graded.
I
Wow.
did. I
Nice.
did 9.8. I got it
That
graded,
is awesome.
and
I
and
love
so
it.
yeah, so it was very the art is very good for young children. But, as time went on, my son moved on to other things, and I kinda tabled it. I tabled straight edge. And so, oh, man, we're going years and years. And martial
Mhm.
artists, they can be very creative. But one day, I'm kinda looking at the news, I'm seeing my feed, I'm looking at social, and it's just flat out negative. And
Yes.
I got to the point where I was like, "You know what? We need something positive. We need something
Mhm.
positive." So I decided to turn off everything. And I went for a drive, and I live close to the Adirondack Mountains. And
Okay.
so I decided to drive for like 2.5 hours, and I just kind of locked in, focused, said some prayers, and just wanted to produce something that was new and authentic and real that people can relate to
And positive.
and positive, sir,
Yeah.
and positive. I came back from that car ride, and I actually had the first 4 issues of what you have right now done in my mind.
Wow.
And I was like,
Oh,
"Okay." I
wow.
was like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do." And so then I needed to find in my hope, I needed to find, like, an artist who can, like, take the vision that I have in the script, in the writing, in the text, in the overall comic, and find someone that would be able to, like, really, really do this, right?
Mhm.
Here's the crazy part, and I can't believe that it kinda worked out this way. Doug Hills, who is a amazing artist for WWE. He does the WWE T-shirts.
Oh, wow.
He does Topps Star Wars cards.
Okay.
He does Headlock comic book. Doug is like the real deal, right? Well, here's the funny thing. At a few Comic Cons way back in the day when Caleb was 8 and 9 years old, Doug would have art lessons with little kids, and Caleb would sit with Doug Hills and draw superheroes. And
Oh,
Doug,
that is awesome.
oh man, Doug actually agreed to, like, teach Caleb to do panels and stuff. And so this is when I mean, Caleb was like 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, and he had like maybe 6 lessons with Doug. So all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Let's reach out. And I reached out to Doug, and he's like, you know what? I like the project. He's like, let's do it. And I gave him the script, and he looked at the script. I gave him the panels. I gave him, like, my rough ideas of what I want this to be, where I want it to go. And we started doing character development, and
Mhm.
he drew the initial characters, and then I kinda threw some ideas back at him, and I was like, "You know, I really want it to be like this instead." And every single character that Doug came up with, like, there was some tweaks on my end, but those characters, the designs,
No, the illustrations are
yeah,
phenomenal. I mean,
um,
it's just, the audience just to like check it out. I mean, just the artwork itself is I had the pleasure of popping open all three of these, and just the artwork was just, it's just gorgeous, gorgeous.
he
It was
he
great.
honestly, he is so talented, and I'm getting pages from the new one right now. I don't wanna jump ahead right now. I'm getting pages from the new one,
Mhm,
and I'm
mhm.
just like, "Oh, this is everything I want it to be." So, yeah, so that's kinda how that initially, like, I guess it went from a grassroots idea to finish a commitment to my son to
Mhm,
a I guess, a resurgence in creativity, and,
mhm.
this time around, I wasn't playing though. Um, I decided I was gonna get trademarked, it was gonna get copywritten, we're gonna have an agent.
So now you're investing some serious time and obviously some serious money into this.
Yes, yes,
I'm sure
and
none of this comes cheap.
no, no, my wife is 100% supporting me on this as well,
Mhm.
because, obviously, you have to have a support system and people that believe
Of
in you,
course.
people that believe in you.
We all need that village to succeed in anything in life. We all need that village.
Everything, sir. And so I remember when I was showing now remember, Caleb is now 20 years old. My daughter is now 24 years old.
Mhm.
So I wrote the third book first. But here's why the third book got written first. It was actually supposed to be a Ninja Turtle story with a crossover of Daredevil in the book.
Okay.
And so, IDW, is basically owned by Viacom, Nickelodeon.
Okay.
And so when you pitch them an idea, like I am honored, Tom Waltz, who's the writer for Ninja Turtles, actually put me in as a character in, and so now I am actually
Oh,
Dr.
get out.
No, so no, all good. Like honestly, like I am Dr. Yuhasz in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I am like in a few episodes, like in a few of the books of Ninja Turtles, like real character, the whole deal,
Wow.
And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna kind of pitch this idea to Tom. I am gonna show, what it would be like, because like obviously the history of the Ninja Turtles and Daredevil is like a big
Mhm.
crossover. So I'm gonna pitch this story, and nothing came of it, right? And it just, you just it's very difficult. And so I turned around and I was like, you know what? It's gonna be a straight edge story. And so I wrote book three. And then when Doug saw that, he was like, wow. He's like, yeah, but this has got to be like this can't be the first book. And
Mhm.
so I had the idea of how the whole book was going to be on that car ride. So I said, you know what? I can do this. And so then straight edge just flowing out.
So now tell the audience, who is Straight Edge? Who is he?
So
Talk to
who
us about the character of Straight Edge. Like I'm gonna pretend I don't know anything about comic books.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Like explain to me who is Spider-Man? Who is Straight Edge?
Sure. So straight edge is a street level hero with a semi-spiritual twist, right? So he's a school guidance counselor. And
Okay.
he's a school guidance counselor in a middle school. It's during a time where cell phones are rampant inside the school, and he
Oh.
he is actually tasked through New York State's new education like decree that no cell phones are allowed to be used in schools any longer. And so,
Yeah, which just got passed
yes,
recently. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, just hit the
yes.
five
So
boroughs. Yeah, and Long Island.
mhm.
Yeah.
And
Very
so
relevant to today.
oh,
There you go.
and there's some pushback, right? So there's some pushback because,
Yes, a lot of
I
pushback.
I don't wanna say this in a negative way, but our cell phone is now part of our person. It is with us 100% of the time. It is
True
it
story.
it is part of our person. And
Mhm.
so straight edge is tasked with letting the schools know, in actually down in the city. that the cell phones will no longer be utilized in the schools. And
Okay.
so straight edge, um, his so believe it or not, his name is Mr. Y, WHY. In
Okay.
I just kind of little play on words right there. Um,
Right, right, right.
but he is a martial artist that in this book, like there is a flashback on how all this happened. But
Okay.
Straight Edge was actually stabbed by a spirit dagger, and this spirit dagger, when he was stabbed with it, actually gave him the ability to kind of see about 4 seconds into the future when he's sparring someone, when he's fighting somebody, right?
So that's
And
his superpower, being
that's
able to see into
like
the future.
only like 4 or 5 seconds, just while he's fighting, right?
Okay.
Just
Okay.
while he's fighting.
All
And then
right.
in history, there is a woman who was one of the first ladies. And so what I decided to do is I decided to introduce um a Dr. Ada. Now Dr. Ada in real life was a woman who helped technology grow exponentially. And so
Okay.
so Straight Edge has Dr. Ada make him a tech suit. And
All right.
so the tech suit helps him not do anything other than kind of fly around city, this kind of thing. But his dagger, being a spiritual dagger, he can go into a narrow place. And so if you think about a narrow place where dreams and reality kind of intermesh and come together,
Okay.
so he's able to take this dagger and go into a narrow place. But there are only two other items that allow him to do that. We'll jump into that later on, I guess. But so Straight Edge is a street level hero that is completely, wholeheartedly for the education of children as a guidance counselor. But the reason why he is now on this mission is because the villains in this book, believe it or not, utilize the technology within their phones, within social media,
Hmm.
to manipulate children. And now we both
So
know
the enemy is the phone
it is the phone through these two really
through
awful people. Yes.
through
And
these
so
bad guys. All
they
right.
they are
So
they
he's got his nemesis.
oh yes, yes. And they developed technologies that the telephone can do some awful things while the people are utilizing
Okay.
it, right? So if you think about it, the average person today refreshes their phone over 100 times a day.
Oof.
Students today are on TikTok for longer than 6 hours at a time.
Oh,
Some
it's crazy.
for 6 hours for the day. Some high school kids actually sleep with the phone on their chest, and when it buzzes, they want to see it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we're kind of dealing, unfortunately, with a society that went from a play-based education to a phone-based education.
Yeah.
And we went from having the opportunity to like play and learn and experience life through regular things that we would think regular things like riding bikes, climbing trees, like just things that children would do, like, right? But now you don't see that. You see everyone's on their phone all the time. And so Straight Edge addresses this issue. And this issue helps people realize that through this series that, wait a minute, there is an other avenue that I can go to without constantly looking at my phone.
Yeah.
Whereas the villain, Sipjin, believe it or not, Taekwondo form.
Yeah.
Yes, Sipjin is base 10, right? So when you go down
Hmm.
to the deep meaning of this and you see Sipjin, like long life, long, like the 10 different elements that Sipjin represents. And so the villain actually has a company called Long Life Technologies, giving props to like the Korean culture and the history of Korean
So
punses,
now
right?
our characters are all Taekwondo inspired.
Yes,
What I'm getting.
a lot of them are all Taekwondo inspired. Um,
Yes.
and they utilize this technology to actually manipulate children. And unfortunately, Sipjin is utilizing this technology to manipulate children, and even though the cell phones are no longer allowed in the school districts and the children are allowed to use it, the villain invests and puts smart boards and other technologies in the school system where he still has the ability to manipulate children. And
Ah,
this is what straight edge helps stop from happening. And that's
all
kind
right.
of, yeah, yeah. So I don't know if
I
that,
like this. I like this.
uh,
Oh
thanks, sir.
man.
Yeah. Um, so, you know, my thing is this, is that when you look at the invention of the iPhone and you look at the abilities that it does give us, but you put
Mhm.
that phone in a child's hand, that is
Yeah.
giving your child almost like with you are telling your child, "Here, I'm gonna give you this phone, and now I'm gonna leave you in New York City for an entire week." And when that child
Oh,
come by themselves, and then when that
oh,
child comes back from the city 1 week from now, they are not the same person at all. This
absolutely not.
this is
Forget about a week. I
oh,
think you leave a kid an hour with the cell phone, they're not the same child.
exactly, sir. And
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so you look at this and you think to yourself that you're dealing with unfortunate ramifications from the overuse of cell phones, whether it's depression, overweight, anxiety, all these things, right?
Right.
Believe it or not, Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures addresses these things in very small doses that all of a sudden you're looking at this panel and you're going, wait, wait a minute. And then as you're reading the story, it is bringing to your attention that, wow, like this is happening to me in my life right now. And
Mhm.
here's how it's all being debunked. I now I am so happy to say that I have had multiple families send me pictures of their kids reading these comic books on the couches of their house. And then all of a sudden
Wow.
it's like this kid is a iPad, Nintendo Switch, just on it all day long. And they just took a half an hour and just read Straight Edge.
That's awesome for a kid to say, because I remember when, we initially spoke, you asked me if I wanted a digital or the copy. I was like, no, no, no. I want to hold it in my hand.
Right, sir.
I don't want, it's just a different feeling. A lot of times, unfortunately, these kids don't even know what books are anymore. Everything's in the palm of their hands, but it's such a different feeling when you could hold it, flip the pages, and really dive into each frame, and for a kid to do that, so I did it at 45 years old with these books, so a kid doing it, oh, that's beautiful. That's
And
amazing.
and that's what I'm hoping. And we didn't run into this haphazardly. I made sure that, like, I was reading books that were helping me learn to write comics and, like, the panels and, like, what is happening from panel 1 to panel 2, like, the action between those 2 panels, there had to be something for your imagination to take hold to. And when you're actually so used to, like, 1 moment clips, like 1 second this, 1 second this, and you're jumping from here and there and here and there and here and there, you know how hard it is for a child to take to sit down, do their homework, and read for 20 minutes, and then they get a notification on their phone. They lost that 20 minutes of focus because of that text, because of that instant message, and it's hard for them to get that back, right? But when you're engaged and you're able to take, like, a comic book and you actually sit there and you read it, and it's, let's say, average child takes, like, 20 minutes to read this book, one book. They're engaging their imagination in a way that they have not done probably for most of the day. And
Mhm.
so when I was talking, like, I don't know if you guys know who Danny O'Neill is. Now, way back in the day, Danny O'Neill teamed up with, like, the greatest art, Neil Adams, all these things. And so he wrote books that had some serious meaning into it. And during during this time in our history, he was writing like Green Arrow, Green Lantern books, and
Okay.
This guy turns around and says in the panel of the book, he says, "I understand," to the Green Lantern. He says to Green Lantern, "I understand what you did for the Purple Man, and I understand what you did for the Yellow Man, but what have you done for the Black Man?"
Mm.
And this was revolutionary in the comic world. And I got to hang out with Danny O'Neill for 45 minutes by myself.
Oh wow.
And he sat there and I told him about the straight edge concept. He told me about all this history. He turns around and writes in this book, "Mike, keep the edge straight." And he wanted me to go with this story. And I'll be honest with you, like, sir, that was so meaningful for me that I knew that if he was able to address social injustices back in the day, then
Mm-hmm.
Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures can address one of the biggest, I don't want to call it an epidemic, but one of the hardest things,
No, close to it. Yeah, no,
you
for
know,
sure.
I mean, if I have the ability, if we have the
Listen, there are
ability, you
little
know,
kids that parents tell me when they take away their iPads, forget their phones or whatever, kids throw full blown tantrums.
s-
Like it is,
sir,
yeah.
sir, the average 8-year-old today would have already spent 1 year of their life in front of a
Yeah.
screen.
Like we spoke about why parents bring our kids to our, dojangs. I've had literally parents tell me, I need to get my son off the screen.
Exactly.
I need to get my daughter off a screen.
And now
And I'm
piggyback
like,
that, right?
wow.
Now piggyback your taekwondo school or piggyback a martial arts school and turn around and be
Mhm.
like, "You know what? I got this comic book that actually talks about the benefits of martial arts,"
There you go.
right?
And
It,
this is
it's
and this is why the marriage is so perfect because obviously there's many forms of martial arts, but taekwondo is the most practiced martial art in the world.
yes. Yes.
Hands down. It's practiced on every corner of the world. So now, what better for a kid, who's knows who Batman is, knows who Spider-Man is, who's the Hulk, Iron Man, all this. Now we have our own character.
Sir, inside straight edge,
Boom.
boom, you're right.
Boom.
In inside straight edge issue 2, I'm not giving you any spoilers here, but inside straight edge issue 2, I
Not
made
to the
sh
audience. I read them. I know.
and 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 I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna let the entire world know how popular taekwondo is." And I
Yeah,
put
just for the audience, just to give you a heads up, one of my past guests is a character in the book. I'm not gonna say any names, California. I'm not gonna say any names, but he's a character in the book. I just
and
threw out a hint there. Go check it out.
oh, it's I and I wanted families to realize that, you know what? This is something that I truly believe. Only 3% of our population study martial arts, but
Yeah,
100% of the parents want the benefits that martial arts delivers. And so
true story.
you have to look at it and go, there is a comic book right now that is addressing the overuse of cell phones, the overuse
Hmm.
of social media. It is promoting a healthy, fun martial art, but it is doing it through a superhero that is relatable. And the context within the series is very superhero genre.
Yeah,
There's things that happen in this book that will not happen in real life,
sure.
but the tenets that are hidden inside this book and the messages that are there, parents are going to be like, "You know what? We're going to get the next issue." And you know what? That's why each issue leaves on a little bit of a cliffhanger. It makes you want the
Yes.
next one.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
waiting. I'm waiting for number 4, sir. I'm just
Yeah.
giving you that heads up. I'm waiting for 4.
Yeah, 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 yes,
So,
sir.
no, but it is. It's just a great. Like I said, I've been using this term throughout this whole episode. A marriage of, you married two of your loves. Taekwondo and comics, and you hit a home run, sir. Let me tell you, it is. I could speak for myself,
Mm,
having read these three. Me as a taekwondo school owner, I have no problem going up to any of my students and being like, "Hey, go get this book.
Thank you,
It's good
sir.
stuff." Like I have that confidence. You
Mm.
know, you're right now wearing a straight edge t-shirt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes, sir.
True story. Now think about this. Today, I had a boy take a trial lesson in an Avengers t-shirt. I can't make that up. So
Right.
now I think about what happened today at 3:45 in the afternoon, that kid taking that trial class and then signing up. I'm saying to myself, "Oh, he could be wearing a straight edge shirt."
Mhm.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
we have our own superhero, a
It's
taekwondo superhero. You know, that's got to be an amazing feeling. And this isn't, like I said, this is out to the public now. This is
it
great.
so you almost like, I just started tearing up for a second because it is so true, right? So, you take you take what's going on in our society today with children,
Mhm.
and you see that their gross motor skills are not where they need to be. And then you take them and you put them in a martial arts school, in a taekwondo school, and they turn into such a great athlete. But every single Marvel movie, every single DC movie, those kicks are taekwondo kicks. Those, you know?
Oh yeah.
So how is it that we're not representing that in our own communities and in our own taekwondo dojons, right? And
Right.
so this is something that I feel has exponential growth because the message is universal. The message of a straight edge healthy lifestyle by not drinking and not doing and not doing
Mhm.
drugs, a opportunity to see that you're going to gain focus and confidence and be a respectful person through the martial arts, but that the device that is in your hand isn't your friend. It is a tool that should be utilized and make things easier, but it should not be part of your person so much so that you experience withdrawal and you experience anxiety when it's not with you.
Mhm.
As an adult, if you forget your phone and you're driving to work, you know what you do? You turn around and you go get your phone. And you're like, I
Mhm.
can't believe I forgot it. Now, as a child who is learning from a Chromebook, who is learning from their iPad, who is learning from whatever
Yeah.
tablet they're utilizing, now there's an opportunity to be like, you know what? I'm not going to be reading about the sinking of the Lusitania right now in history and just being a
Mhm.
little bit bored out from this. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what a comic book is meant to do. I am going to take a mental vacation and I'm going to go in this imaginary, ever expanding
Mhm.
universe.
Mhm.
But when I finish this one, I'm going to go, oh, that is a little bit of an epiphany, or I'm having a light bulb moment. You know what? I'm
Right.
going to check this out. You know what? I am going to put my phone down. I'm going to go do,
100%.
right?
Listen, from a parent point of view, you know, let's remove, you know, the master title right now and instructor title. If my son came up to me and said, "Dad, can we get the next issue of the comic book?" I would not hesitate. I would run to get it for him.
Mm.
But when my son comes up to me and says, "Daddy, can I have I don't know what they call them, Roblox
Oh,
dollars
sure, sure.
or this or Fortnite this or you know,
Hmm.
these nonsensical I'm literally throwing dollars away." No, I'm going to choose this because I know it is positive. I know there's a lesson involved and I know it's going to put my kid in a good place. And hey, he's reading.
Right,
He's
right, right.
reading.
And you never
He's
know
not
that
having he's got to sit down and read. You know what?
it's
That's a win-win for a parent.
it's so funny, sir, because when the initial like the new series started, and I am like after that car ride, and I'm really like putting it all together. I wanted it to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the structure of the book ended up being a little bit longer than I wanted to be. So now it's going to end up being 5 issues. But
All right.
I have to tell you, at the end of the fifth issue, you're going to look at it and you're going to go like this. I need to share this with somebody because you know what? Sarah's kid needs to see this, and it's
Mhm.
it really is it's a fun journey, it is an exciting journey. My 20-year-old kid, after I finished them, he read them, right? You know what he said to me? He's like, "Dad, I could market this." And
There you go.
I'm like, from a 20-year-old kid, I'm like,
There you
"Yes,
go.
yes," right? So, yeah, I'm really
Oh,
happy. Like, Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures, I think what I'm gonna future cast, and so
okay.
my agent believes that we have something really big here,
I
and
believe it too.
thank you, sir.
I believe it too. I believe in it. I believe in it, sir.
It's
I'm sold on it.
it's so funny, like, I have friends that have sold their IPs to Netflix, to
Mhm.
Lionsgate, and to big boys, right? And so that's why we made sure that this was trademarked and copywritten and the way it is right now,
Nice.
because we are the agent firmly believes that once it gets in the hands of one of these big ones, if they purchase the IP and sit on it for a while, but they believe that it can be something very special. So I'm looking forward to the future with it.
From it's let's bring faith into this equation right now.
Mm.
There's a saying my father used to always say, from your mouth to God's ears. You know,
Yes, sir.
it's what you
Yep.
just said, really, from your mouth to God's ears. Because this is the type of content that we need to put out.
Mm.
This is, we
So,
there's so much negativity in the world, and what I'm getting from this episode right now is the positivity is right here, and us as taekwondo school owners, dojang owners, we have a responsibility to, this is just a further, this is like, it just, this comic book series, for me, the way I see it, it's an extension of what we teach
mm, mm.
in a
It's
format, in a format that is beautiful to look at, and it's great to read, and it's our own thing. It's taekwondo,
mm. Yeah.
and I, sir, I just love it. This has been great. But now, tell everyone where they could get Straight Edge.
Yeah, yeah, sir. Like, thank you, sir. Like, I I have a website. It's straightedgecomic.com. And
Mhm.
we're on social media. We don't have many followers right now on social, and I think that's the biggest challenge. Like, we're on Instagram, Straight Edge Comic. We're on Facebook, Straight Edge and the
Mhm.
Black Belt Adventures. I'm trying. Like, my hope is that once people see that it's available on social, that they'll go to the website, because the website you can actually purchase the 3 books. There's an
Mhm.
opportunity where, like, Taekwondo school owners can purchase like a bundle of them as well,
Nice.
like a big, like,
Nice.
yeah, like a big bundle. And then we actually recently just released 6 stickers, straight edge stickers. We call them
Mhm.
we call them achievement stickers. So at straightedgecomic.com, like, there's a sticker that says first class, good partner, awesome energy, push up, power up,
Something,
you know.
something, as us school owners, we could give to our kids. Kids love that.
It's
Any little type of motivation is awesome.
It's water bottle stickers, right? Everybody puts stickers
There
on
you
their water
go.
bottles, so straight edge water bottle
Yeah.
stickers. But yeah, straightedgecomic.com, um, it is like the to my surprise, the first print run sold out. And
Oh, I
so
love
I
that.
I
Love that.
have I have
Love
already
that.
thank you so much, sir. I am
I share
actually
that.
honored.
I share that victory with you. I love it.
You
Having read it, I love it.
thank you, sir. And a new print run is out and ready. It should
Okay.
be ready in time for the holidays. Like, I've got my whole family, like, packing boxes and, like, getting the books ready. But
There we go.
here's my hope for it, right? Let's say you're one of the first people to actually pick up the comic, and in 4 years from right now, one of the big boys has it, and you turn around and you're like, "You know what? I remember back in the day, I picked up a straight edge comic, and now it's right there." And that's my future
Wow.
casting for it, right? My future cast is like, what is it? The the for less than a cup of Starbucks, you're getting this
Mm-hmm.
comic that is going to help, help inspire a young reader, help inspire a young martial artist, and just really enjoy, a quick mental vacation by reading comics. But in the future from right now, like, that is like grassroots to be like, "You know what? Yeah, I remember listening to this guy on the podcast. I remember going to his website. Look at this thing now." Because, when the 20-year-old tells me, or the parent in the dojang, or someone who ordered it who lives in Mississippi that happened to see it on social, that sends me a picture of their kid that's reading it and is like, "This is good." It's
That
in
is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, so,
That
yeah.
is nah, Taekwondo community. Let's get on this. Let's support Grandmaster Michael Yuhasz
Oh, thank you.
and Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures, sir. Sir, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait. I can't wait to promote this book. I
Oh,
can't
thanks,
wait.
sir.
You know, and who knows? Maybe one day I'll be on the inside cover. Black Belt Way of Life podcast. Who knows? Why not? Let's go. Let's
Yes, sir.
collab. Let's do
Oh,
it.
yes. Absolutely, sir.
Let's make it happen. I love it.
Uh
But sir, any parting words for our audience?
Sir, I just thank you, sir, for finding the book. I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. And it is a passion project that is turning into something that I'm very proud of. I'm so thankful that other martial artists and non-martial artists are reading the book now. So, sir, thank you so much. Straightedgecomic.com, and you know this is wonderful. I just thank you, sir, and I hope everybody really enjoys the
No.
series.
No, it's been my pleasure. And thank you everyone for tuning in to another amazing episode of A Black Belt Way of Life. All of Grandmaster Michael Yuhasz's info will be in the show notes along with Straight Edge. Get on it, get those prints. Let's get to reading some amazing material, not just for ourselves, but for our students and the entire Taekwondo community, the whole martial arts community. Let's get on this. Straight Edge and the Black Belt Adventures. Thank you everyone for tuning in. To our sponsor, Mr. Joseph Verone of Weichert Realty, to Best Martial Arts Muto USA. All your martial arts needs, check out their info in the show notes. To Kick Fit, for some awesome Taekwondo shoes, BBWOL at checkout. Thank you everyone again for tuning in. Follow us wherever you consume your podcasts. All our info again is in the show notes. In the words my father always said, a black belt is worn around your heart, never your waist. Thank you so much, everyone. A Black Belt Way of Life was produced by Press Record Studios.